4 plants here today. You've got the top down view because it's easier. And then you know I'm always in hiding. So I think this is an epiprenum, this plant. But please correct me if I'm wrong, because I got this plant in as like a mystery box. I'm just going to move the light out of the way. Yeah, I got this plant as like a mystery box, and it was basically like a really small, teeny cutting, and I've had it for a year, and the leaves are absolutely whopper. The leaves are like really leathery, you know, they are amazing, and it just seems to be happy, so I think that's going to be a great one to transform. I've also got my string of pearls, and I've had this string of pearls for like a couple of years, so I think that would be quite an interesting one to trial. I've also got an alocasia. The alocasia is very big. I'm going to try and show you. I've got an alocasia. It's got 2 leaves. There's the second leaf. And grows really happy, the alocasia. And I've got a snake plant here. Cuttings off this snake plant. But I think it would be a really interesting one to put into leca. So first thing I'm going to do, same thing as always, because I said we were going to do a few plants a week, so we'll start with this one. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take it out of the soil substrate that it's in. So annoying as well, because I bought the Soil Ninja substrate for it, and now I am taking it out of there to try it into leca. Sorry, to try it into hydroponics. Get it right, Chrissy. I've got leca on the brain. So we're going to try it in hydroponics. And the roots for this plant, they're really thick and chunky and meaty, the roots. You know, this plant started off where nothing happened for ages. It didn't grow, and now all of a sudden it's just been well away doing its own thing. There was a point where I actually thought it might not survive. It was like that. So here's the roots here. We've got a little bit of lag on my video today, but there's the roots. And what I'm going to do, same thing, is I'm going to wash the roots off, and then we're going to put it into hydroponic mix. So I've also got my string of pearls here. String of pearls is a complicated one to get out because the roots are so fine. They are just like a hair's width fine. But it'll be an interesting one. I have got a large cutting of this, and it grows really well in soils, but I think it would be nice to try it in another substrate to see what happens. So that's that one out. Got my snake plant. My snake plant's been growing really happy in this. Weirdly enough, it doesn't have very many roots, but it grows so happy. Just does its own little thing, you know. But I think it would be quite interesting to try this in another substrate, see what happens. So that's the snake plant there. And try and keep it together. And finally, this mammoth of an alocasia. And the alocasia, I actually got it in Marks and Spencer's. I couldn't believe it. It was just unbelievable that Marks and Spencer's were selling an alocasia. And the alocasia was all unloved. It wasn't reduced in price. It was a case of you either buy it if you want it, or if you don't want it, you don't have it. It was one of those. But I wanted an alocasia for ages, so I was like, right, that's mine. I'm going to adopt that, take it home. And although it hasn't grown hugely, it's had that baby, and you saw the baby the other week. But it's quite happy, and that's all that matters, really. And hopefully it's going to be happy in its new home in hydroponics. So what we're going to do is we are going to take everything over to the wash area. We're going to take everything over, and I'm going to rinse all the roots off and then I'm going to see you back in a minute. I've taken as much soil off to start with. The soil's out of the pots, just for starters. And I'm going to try and dispense of some of the soil from the roots before I wash them. Quite the messy job it is, rinsing everything out, rinsing all the soil off, trying to get as much off as I can, and I've got quite a bit off there. You can see the roots. Got as much off as I could. The alocasia, the roots are just there. The snake plant, tiny little roots, unbelievable for such a big plant. And string of pearls, roots are there. Roots are only small, really narrow, really thin, fine little roots, fine little hair-like roots they are. So, I was thinking, trying to work out which pot would be best for which plant. You know, and what I use is, some of these are like old, you know, the little cups what you get when you know, the little party cups. I got these from a pound shop, and I just pierced some holes in them. I haven't pierced them all round, I've just pierced like a few holes. Some of them actually I've pierced holes round. This one has just got holes at the bottom. And I'll just put it in a cash pot, and I'll fill the cash pot like a quarter of the way. So it'll go in this one, same thing as before, and it's worked really well. I've just filled it like a quarter of the way and it's been fine. I haven't needed to use any fancy pots or anything, because I'll be honest, I don't have the finances to use anything extra fancy. And I've still got my massive bag from Soil Ninja of hydroponics mix, so we're going to use that. And what I'm going to do, oops, sorry about the noise, just so you can see there, filling it like a quarter of the way. And then I'm going to put my plant in. Just going to move my hands out of the way. I'm going to put my plant in, and I'm going to backfill it. So there's my plant. You can see there. And I'm just going to fill around the roots. And what I do like about this hydroponics mix is because it allows the air to get through, and I really like that. And I'll be honest, I know you're supposed to wash them out. Some I haven't washed out, but I have had to change the water quite frequently until the water's gone clear. So I have had instances like that, because I am quite lazy, and it is a bit of a trauma having to wash them. So what I've been doing is filled it this much, so it's almost filled to the top, and then what I have done is I've just totally stood it in water, left it standing in water until the water's gone clear, and then it's been fine. You know, because it does leave like a grainy substance on your gloves. So I have found that I have needed to do that. But that's the first one done. And ready to go in its new home. And I use tepid water. I don't use really cold water. Water's tepid, cold, like room temperature, and I leave it to stand for like 24 hours to get rid of all the elements. And then, like I say, I just totally fill all the roots up, because that in effect is draining it through. You can see the water draining through there. And that drains anything out of it. And then I'll change that water. Like tomorrow I'll change it. And then I'll just, it'll just be a quarter of the way full. So this is the, it's just the water that is just sort of cleaning through any of the elements from the hydroponics mix. For the next one, we're going to use this pot, which is an orchid pot. So that's perfect to go in there. It was in there in the first place, in all fairness, anyway. To move everything along. Yeah, it was in there in the first place, so that's fine. That pot's going to fit back in there. The roots have got enough room. It suits it, it's fine. I just want to check this one as well. Like, always check your plants. Make sure there's nothing that's not supposed to be there. This one has got like an aerial root. Can you see it there? Which is quite interesting. So that tells me it must be like a crawler. It must crawl along the surface of the floor, you know, rather than going straight up. So I might need to get a long rectangle pot for this at some point for it to be in its happiest element. Yeah, I might need to change the pot once it starts, once spring starts, or at least summer starts. But for now, it's all right as it is. Let's have a look. Got too much there. And this, you know, this is all an experiment. We're just experimenting, aren't we? We have to experiment on what medium suits for our plants, and that also depends on, you know, you can see there how much I've put in. This also depends on like your lifestyle. So my lifestyle's quite busy. Got 2 jobs. I teach sewing classes. I don't always have a lot of time for things. So I like plants where I can tend to them, and then if I'm busy, sometimes I can't tend to them, but they need to be able to survive with minimal fuss. And that one doesn't feel very secure, so I think I'm going to repot it again. But I think I'm going to this time put everything a bit lower. That's what I think. I feel like the plant needed to be lower in the pot. Perhaps it needs to be in this pot, because when you look at the roots are quite long. Yeah, I think it was in the wrong size pot, to be fair. And I know some of you are probably thinking, well, these plants are supposed to be in hibernation, which they are still in hibernation. You know, I'm not stopping them from sleeping. They're not growing. They don't get watered too much, because it's out of the growing season. That's better. It feels more secure in there. So I've just filled it right up to the top. So I've just panned the camera down a little bit just so that we can see here. So that you can see there how full it is. I want you to be able to see the condition of the water, and that's just after a short amount of time. So that water's going to be changed, and then it's going to go into some fresh water. So the pot had a bit of a rinse, and it's now in some clean water. Just popping my gloves back on. Yeah, it's now in some clean water, and said snake plant can go in there, and that's my first one done. So on to the next one, which is going to be my epiprenum here, and I'm going to get some water for it. I'm running out of pots. So putting this clear pot, and I'm just going to pour some water around the growing medium to soak it through. The alocasia is here, and I'm thinking in this one, this is the pot, thinking in here alocasia should go. That's the same size pot. Just going to empty the contents in there. Afraid you won't be able to see this one too well because this is quite a tall plant. So I'm just backfilling now with the hydroponics mix to secure her. She's feeling quite sturdy in there, which is nice. Happy for that. I think I filled her up a little bit too much. There we go. Nice and full. And it's nice actually because you can still see air pockets through there, which is really nice. So, oops, sorry. These are big. Just try and move her out of the way. So, same thing again. I'm going to dunk her in some water for about... Actually, it's only a few minutes you really need to do it. And I'll show you this one. That just shows you the bunk that comes out. But what I actually do is I do change the water every day for like a week just to make sure that all the sediment is totally out. So I've got some nice clean water, which is just there. This one can go back in. And she'll be there, she'll live happily ever after now in her new home. And next for the alocasia. Again, I've realised I haven't got enough pots for everything. So I'm putting my alocasia in. Just going to move so you can see this whilst I pour all the water in. You can see the water goes brown straight away. I'm just going to move the pot and show you. You can see how much sediment comes out straight away. And I'm just going to go and change the water and come back. So the water's been changed and here it is nice and clean. There's only a little bit of water in because they don't need a lot. Oops. So that's there. I'm just going to move alocasia out of the way. And what I will do is I will take a photograph of them all so that you can see them all together on the windowsill when it's light. Because at the moment it is now 10:30 at night. So you won't be able to see anything. So the last plant for us to try is going to be this one. The little string of pearls. which is here. This is the last one we're going to try and see as an experiment if this will live in hydroponics. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little pot like this, but I'm going to put some holes in it. So I'm just going to get a tool to put some holes in. Always happens to me. As soon as I need something, I can't find it. Then when I don't need it, I find it. I can't find the tool, so I'm having to use this instead. And I'm just gonna, and that's not working. So we'll try something else. Success! Don't know if you can see there, I have managed to pierce 4 little holes just there for the water drainage. And we're going to fill it with medium and try growing string of pearls. So this is my little string of pearls. Trying to get all the roots in. Got roots here as well. Try to get the roots in. It's a bit fiddly, it's a bit hard. What I think I might do is take some of the pearls off, just so that I've got roots there. So that one's got roots. I'll try and separate them. I'm not making a very good job of it. That one's got roots. That one can go in. Do that one next. There. So we've got that one in. That one's in. And you can break these off and they just regrow, which is amazing. Oh, I keep pulling them out. Look at that. Try again. Right, one root in. This one I'm not sure about. There's the root for that one. In you go. There's the root for that one. In you go. Fill her up. See what happens. There we go. And I've put them all on top. Just like that, and we'll see what happens. So this is a close-up there of them. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to put that one into water as well.